Hey guys, today's episode is going to be all about spinning. Spinning yarn, spinning sock yarn, spinning sweater yarn, spinning with spindles, and spinning challenges. Hey guys, welcome. Thank you guys so much for being here. I am Felicia from SweetGeorgia, and this is Taking Back Friday. This is a place where we come every Friday and we talk about knitting and weaving and spinning and dyeing and all of those fabulous fiber arts. I like to talk about making time to make things. And now today, in today's episode, I want to talk about how September has started. Summer is not over yet, but summer holidays is over. Everybody's gone back to school. We're all sort of gearing up and getting ready for fall. Fall is a really super busy time for us. At the end of September or the beginning of October, there is Knit City here in Vancouver, and so that is kind of a big deal for us. And then also at the very beginning of October every year, that first week of October, there's always been, for a number of years now, there's been a spinning challenge. And the spinning challenge has been Spinzilla. I think it was 3 or 4 years? 4 years, I think, that it was going on for. Well, in any case, probably about 2 months ago, we got news from the organizers of Spinzilla that Spinzilla is no longer going to happen. They're not going to run it anymore because it requires so much manpower. It requires a lot of infrastructure. It's just a lot of work in order to coordinate this global spinning event. And so I think that a lot of people were very sad that Spinzilla went away. And so one of the gals, Carla Hansen from Purple Lamb Fiber Arts, she decided to organize a new version of Spinzilla herself. I can't even imagine. It would be an incredible amount of work. And so Carla has put together an entire website for this event. It's called Spin Together. So basically what it is it's kind of like Spinzilla in that it's a global challenge that is between teams. And it's going to run from October 6th to October 12th. And if you are at all interested, you can go to the website spintogether.org and you can sign up for a team. So all the teams are listed there and you can pick and choose which team you want to join. Now, like with Spinzilla, a lot of the challenges around this particular event are related to yardage. So it could be the greatest amount of yardage that any team produces. That's typically how Spinzilla used to work, is you look at the teams and you total up the yardage that every person on the team has spun, and that total yardage is what determines where you are in the leaderboard. Now, because some teams have some people who spin a lot and some people who spin not as much, I think to help out those smaller teams, what Carla has suggested is additional categories. So things like the highest average number of yards spun by any particular team. So that will help sort of level the playing field a little bit. And then she's also added some other categories. So there's one for art yarn, one for the wildest art yarn, and one for the most beautiful skein of yarn. So if you are missing Spinzilla, if you want to participate in something like this that's team-based activity, then I highly encourage you guys to go check out spintogether.org. The sign up for that is anytime in September before September 30th, and then everybody can begin spinning on October 6th. Now, one of the main things that makes Spin Together different from Spinzilla is that there's actually no fees. There were no fees to participate as a team. I think that the teams only need to contribute some kind of a prize. That was the deal. And then for anybody who wants to join as an individual spinner and join a team, there's no participation fee. All of it is free. The only thing that Carla suggests and encourages you to do is maybe make a donation to Habitat for Humanity. But otherwise, there's no fee to join this event. Now, here at SweetGeorgia, we typically have always hosted a Spinzilla team, except I think last year. But we've always hosted a Spinzilla team. But because fall is so full already, it just didn't make sense for us to add one more item onto our plate. And so SweetGeorgia and the School of SweetGeorgia is not necessarily going to host a team for Spin Together, that event. But I do still encourage you guys to come up with your own sort of challenge. So basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be setting up some criteria or challenges or goals, milestones that I would personally like to reach in my spinning. So that first week of October, is typically spinning and weaving celebration week anyways, and so it's a good time to kind of like settle down and focus on what it is that you want out of your spinning or out of your craft. If you were to join Spinzilla or Spin Together here, the goal of those 5 or 10 days or 7 days or however many days you spend spinning, the goal of that time period is to produce the most yardage possible. But for me, given what I want to do and how I want to spin, I don't necessarily want to produce just gobs and gobs of yardage. I mean, it could be good, it could be bad, it could be sloppy, it could be anything. Now, actually, what I really, really, really want out of this particular event is I just want to make better yarn. I have been spinning for a number of years. I've taught classes in spinning. I wrote a book for spinning. But at the end of the day, when I look at my own hand-spun yarn, I don't like it as much as I think that I should. I really want things about my hand-spun yarn to be different than they are. I find that when I sit down at my wheel and I start spinning, I make a default yarn, which is great, but I feel like my default yarn is too dense and it's too crispy. It's a little bit too smooth. I took the idea of spinning worsted and smooth and clean and all of that kind of stuff. I took it a little bit too far. And so whenever I spin, I feel like the yarn that I make is dense, it's smooth, but it's too dense. And it's not the kind of yarn that I would like to knit with or weave with or work with. And so what I want for myself at the end of this week is to go into it with an intention of creating better yarn. And so for me, the criteria for better yarn would be softer, just a squishier yarn, better feel. Now, this could be something that I could spin on my wheel and try to just really intentionally slow down my treadling, focus on my hands, figure out how to do this in a way that is not going to create this crispy yarn. And then the other thing that I was thinking about is maybe spending the entire week working with spindles. So like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, we had Diana Twist here and she was putting together a workshop for the School of Sweet Georgia, and it's all about spinning with suspended spindles. Suspended spindle basically means drop spindle. So, you know, like this is one of my old drop spindles, right? So you spin and it's basically, this is a suspended spindle, as opposed to other kinds of spindles, which are like this one. This is a supported spindle. So this one you would sit inside a bowl and you would hold it, supported spindle. So Diana was teaching a course on these kinds of drop spindles. And together with that, she also brought her collection of Turkish spindles. And the Turkish spindles that she showed me were so cute and so awesome. And so I got super, super excited about them. I do have a couple of these Jenkins Turkish spindles, but they're so tiny, right? They're really, really tiny. And they make tiny yarn, they make tiny little balls of yarn, and it was just not very, very much. And so I was inspired to look more into Turkish spindles. This is another one from Jenkins. This is supposed to be a slightly larger size, still not that much larger. And so the ones that Diana was showing me were ones that are 3D printed by a company called Turtle Made, and you can find them on Etsy. And so I went out and I got myself a bunch of these beautiful spindles. This one is Candy Apple Red. It's like shiny and lovely red. And then this one is a Sunshine Yellow, kind of like a lemon, bright lemon yellow. They're just really, really fun colors. And this one here, this is like some kind of a blue. They're fun colors. This one was supposed to be a little bit smaller, but they have great weight to them and they spin really, really well so far. But in, following Diana and what she was teaching in the workshop as I was filming it, I began to get very, very inspired by this idea of spinning with these Turkish spindles, spinning with my spindles again, because with a spindle, you can't over twist it. You can't add so much twist into the yarn that it becomes crispy. Spindle spun yarn is always going to be nice and soft and lofty and light, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. That's the quality of yarn that I want to be able to produce with my hand spinning. And so what I'm thinking for myself maybe is that for those days, October 6th to October 12th, that what I'll concentrate on is spinning purely with these Turkish spindles and trying to make a really beautiful, really squishy, really soft, beautiful skein of yarn with this process. So that is the challenge that I've given myself. Now, I'm interested to hear what you guys might be looking for your spinning, for whatever your goals are for that particular week, you know, whether it's yardage or whether it's size or whether it's working with a fiber that you've never worked with, maybe it's spinning with Rolex that you've made from a carding board, like whatever it is, I'm interested to hear what you guys are making. Now, one of the other things that I want to do during that week is host a spin-in. So what I'm thinking is the Thursday, October the 10th in the morning, I would like to open up a Zoom room, which is basically like our video-based meeting room. And that means that anybody can sort of hop on and with your webcam, video screen, or with your phone, it works on your iPhone too, just get the Zoom app. And then I'm gonna hand out the URL and you can log on with that URL and you can join in and everybody can spin together at the same time. And so what I'm thinking is Thursday, October the 10th at 9:30 in the morning, we can do that as a group and we can just all sit together and spin together and everybody can kind of go around the room and talk about what they're making, what they're doing with their yarn, what they're doing with their yardage. So it doesn't matter if you're on any particular team. Maybe if you're doing the spin together and you're on somebody else's team, you can still hop into the video chat and connect with us there and talk about what you're making. I think that could be kind of fun to do together. So finally, I mentioned Diana has a workshop that's going to come out on the School of Sweet Georgia later on this year about spinning with spindles. But this week, we have a brand new course on the School of Sweet Georgia, and it's called Spin to Knit a Sweater. And so this course has been taught by Rachel Smith of Welford Pearls. You might also know her from her podcast, Wool and Spinning. She also has a Patreon account and all these kinds of things. She's built a huge, big spinning community over there. And she is bringing her spinning knowledge to the school and sharing what she knows about making sweaters with hand-spun yarn. So it's a really, really cool course because she looks at all sorts of different yarn structures. She looks at sampling. She looks at knitting and really, really using that handspun that you've made and putting that to use in order to see whether or not it would make a good sweater yarn. So this is very much about spinning intentionally. It's not just spinning and getting some yarn out the door. It's really about sitting down, being very thoughtful about the kind of qualities you want in your yarn and putting those qualities into it as you spin. And so there are decisions about how much twist to add, how much thickness yarn it's going to be, how many plies it's going to be, how it's going to be plied, what kind of fiber it is, what kind of fiber characteristics there are. So all sorts of different things to consider. And that's what we're going to be talking about in Rachel's class, which is happening right now on the School of Sweet Georgia. So if you guys are at all interested in spinning, in expanding your spinning repertoire, learning more about spinning, I really, really encourage you guys to come and join us in the School of Sweet Georgia this fall, because for the next couple of months, we have actually quite a lot of spinning content that's coming around. So I'm super, super excited about these courses. I do love spinning and I want to do more spinning. Last night, I watched HBO's Hard Knocks with my husband. He's a super, super, super Raiders fan, and so they're doing a sort of a mini documentary series about the Raiders football team on HBO, and so that's what we watch every Tuesday night. And so I was sitting there and watching Hard Knocks with Dan and doing my little spindle spinning at the same time. It's kind of tricky to figure out, how to spin without looking. But I'm getting it down and I'm trying very hard to make this really, really nice cop and wind all of this stuff really, really nicely and beautifully. What do they call this? This is, oh no, they don't call this cop. They call it something else. But this is super, super fun to do. Once I get through this fiber, which is a BFL and silk fiber, I want to move back to this one, which I've had this one for a long time. This is the tea leaves. This is yak and merino, yak and silk. I'm in love with this color and this fiber. I just want to spin it and do justice to it. So that's why it's still here. So yeah, I'm looking really forward to spending more time with these little spindles. These are super fun and so colorful. I picked the yellow because it was really sunny and bright and fun, and I do love this color. It reminds me of sour, hard candies sort of thing. But yeah, something that I could just kind of pop in my purse and carry with me all the time. I know I do have my knitting to carry with me, but sometimes, you want something a little bit different. So that's it for that. So that is it for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that some of you guys who are spinning will come and join us in the school for this fall and all the content that we're going to be putting together about spinning. And if you are joining the Spin Together event, please do feel free to pop into our spin-in, which will happen on Thursday, October the 10th at 9:30 Pacific Standard Time. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you would like to find Sweet Georgia online, we are at SweetGeorgiaYarns.com and on Instagram at SweetGeorgia. And you can find me and what I'm weaving at Low Meets Loom. Thanks so much. I will see you guys next week in the next one. All right, bye for now.